to watch later if you want to rewatch anything. Okay, so we're really excited to have Chris here today. Brianna Lane turned us on to him. He's done some talks, I think, for her organization. And Chris is from CD Baby. He's joining us for this deep dive into digital distribution. I think he knows pretty much everything there is to know about this. He is a senior content manager at CD Baby who does digital distribution, and I am a client, full disclosure. But I'm going to stop talking now and let Chris take over the screen. I'm bringing you in, buddy. We're so glad you're here.
Hello.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you. And take it away, Chris.
Yeah, so let's see. I have done some talks at NERFA. I've done some talks at the International Folk Alliance, but it's nice to be virtually in the Midwest. Thanks for having me. And yeah, I'm going to do a screen share if it works. Let me know. Are you seeing it? All right, so I'll be talking about preparing your music for a successful release in 2021. Hopefully you're not trying to get something out by the end of the year. I mean, you can, but you'll be rushing through a lot of things. I'll also be talking a little bit about Spotify and kind of its place in the folk music world. And then I think hopefully we'll have some time for questions that are, if you want to get into the nitty gritty of distribution type stuff, we can talk about that as well. But if I hit that, did the screen change? Okay, so yeah, so this is me. In addition to working at CD Baby for 15 years and see it go through a lot of changes from, primarily a physical direct-to-fan CD sales tool, it's gone through digital distribution, download, streaming, music monetization, all ways of making money from your recordings and your publishing rights, all sorts of stuff. So, but I am also a singer-songwriter. There's my handle there. It's just Chris Robley on Instagram and Twitter, and I'm on YouTube and Facebook and all those places. So I will try my best not to make this a CD Baby commercial, but I wanted to say, if any of you are not clients, you can create a free CD Baby account, and the reason you will want to do that is because once you're inside the dashboard, you will have free access to something called show.co, which is a suite of music marketing tools that we purchased about 4 years ago because we saw they were being used by huge artists like Maroon 5 and Oasis and a bunch of big major label people to grow their Spotify followings, premiere YouTube videos. It does a whole bunch of stuff. And we purchased it. We make it available to our clients and our free account holders for free. We still make the majors pay for it. So it's one of the rare instances where they're subsidizing the independents. So I hope you'll do that. This is what the homepage of show.co looks like. But first, I wanted to start this conversation off with just talking through some concepts about sort of the state of the music industry currently, particularly for independent music. And some of it might sound contradictory, and I invite you to think of that as a totally fine thing. There's no one way to make music. There's no one way to build a career and to continually engage your audience. So if these things sound contradictory, they might be, and just wrestle with that, and whatever conclusion you arrive at that resonates with how you want to move forward is probably what's right for you and your fans. So first, I want to just say no one owes you anything. I know there was apparently this golden time where like the label did everything, and you were just guaranteed wealth and riches and fame. Of course, that was only true for a tiny percentage of people. They did spend a bunch of money on your behalf if you were lucky enough to get that kind of access to grow your fan base. And even if you were a commercial flop on a major label, they had still just done a ton of expenditure of resources to get you exposure. That is mostly gone. And of course, you all know you're probably releasing music independently. And I, of course, am in favor of that, of controlling your rights, of having a direct relationship with your fans. But that means that you're your label and you have to do all the work or most of the work. And it's surprising the amount of people who put out music through CD Baby and then say, well, no one's listening. Like, what are you guys doing? And we're like, well, we give you tools, but you're the label. Like, we're not going to make you famous. That's up to you. So just a good reminder there. Number two, no one wants to own music. And this is somewhat genre dependent. I know in the folk world, it tends to be a sort of genre by its very nature that has a lot of nostalgia built in. So vinyl records, cassettes, CDs are proportionally more important in folk than they certainly are in pop and EDM and hip hop and stuff like that. But even in the folk world, I feel like it's moving very quickly to a place where no one wants the pain in the ass of managing files on their desktop. Um, do people even have CD players anymore? No, generally not. So this puts you in a very strange position where streaming has brought about this fundamental shift in how music is consumed. And we've moved from, of course, a buying model to a listening model. It's about paying for access as opposed to paying to own the music itself. I know there are economic challenges based on that. You lose out, on an individual sale basis. You clearly can't make nearly as much from a single stream as you would from a single CD sale. But the flip side of that is barriers have been completely removed between your potential listener and them hearing your music. It's free for them to swipe or to play. And so there's really no hurdle except your own initiative and creativity and your marketing and stuff to get someone to care enough to just press play. And so I feel like that's really exciting. I see a ton of really creative marketing. And I guess when I'm saying marketing, if people are allergic to that word, I'm really just talking about telling the story of you as an artist and of your music in a way that gets someone to care. So it's, that's not necessarily something that should be intimidating. I see a ton of really creative, amazing marketing happening these days. And I think that's totally thrilling. And it's really the key to success for independent musicians. Let me go. So yeah, success these days is really all about what you can do to get your fans to continue pressing play. Because again, if they don't own it, if they're not paying you to own it, they're paying you on a monetized basis. It's based on based on uses, I should say. So again, get your fans excited to keep coming back. And later in the discussion, I'll talk about some ways you can sort of keep going back to a creative well for that. So yeah, no one wants to own your music, but what they do want to own is the connection they feel with you and your songs. And that can take the form of a physical product. It can be vinyl, cassettes, CDs, merch, t-shirts, whatever. But I think it's important to remember what they're buying is you in a sense, or at least their impression of what it's like to feel your music after they've heard it. So it's more important than ever to come up with ways of continuing to connect with your audience. And that is clearly live streams in this pandemic world. Instead of just simply dropping your album and doing the old-fashioned PR campaign, creating a real, robust, deep, behind-the-scenes experience that your fans might be able to go through over a course of 5 or 7 days. These things, they take a lot of work for you to build on the front end. But then when your listeners go through these journeys, at the end of it, they feel like, well, shit, I don't even have a CD player, but I want that CD because it's going to have an autograph and it's going to sort of commemorate this experience that I've had. Just going deeper into your music. So I would remember that as well. It's really about owning kind of a piece of you. Another healthy reminder is that you will always fall behind. That's for 1,000 reasons. It could be, now I'm 27. Now I'm 40. Now I'm 60. Now I'm 80. It could be an age thing. It could be that the popularity of genres ebb and flow. And, folk, singer-songwriter, this is the music I love and make. And it's, it's not in vogue right now. And I feel like the more we can remember that, the more freeing it is, because the person, the 18-year-old on TikTok who has a huge viral video that was blowing up last week is falling behind to the person who has the viral video on Triller or whatever new social app there is this week. So everyone's falling behind. That's fine. There's no compulsion. You aren't, it's not compulsory that you stay up to date on every social platform and figure out every little thing, maybe short form TikTok videos isn't your thing. Cool. Your audience might not even be on TikTok. Who cares? For a demographic that's 35 to 80, pretty much your fans are on Facebook. So it's fine if you really put most of your effort into Facebook, figuring out how people communicate there, how your audience is engaged with what you're putting out. That's fine. You will fall behind. Don't worry about that stuff. Because ultimately, it's worth remembering that billions of people on the earth hate Drake. Drake is one of the biggest artists in the world. I'm sure he has, hundreds of millions, maybe even billions of fans. That also means that billions of people on this planet haven't heard of him, don't care, or actively dislike him. I like to talk about the example of Taylor Swift when she's, playing the local Enormo Dome to whatever 20 or 30,000 people. Hundreds of thousands or maybe even millions of people in that city stayed home. They didn't buy a ticket. They didn't care. But when she's looking at her audience, she's seeing that sold out stadium of her actual fans, the people that are connecting with her and that she's connecting with. So it's really the numbers game. Don't assume your music should be for everyone. It definitely should not. And you are a cottage industry. Of course, I feel like in the Folk Alliance world, no one really needs to know this lesson. When I do talks to pop and electronic and hip hop, it's, those people have a mindset about conquering the entire world. And I feel like folk has just a way healthier, more positive attitude of remembering that it's really about low overhead, being able to sort of shift gears quickly, making that really human, deep connection with one listener at a time. So good for, I assume all of you are on board with that. So, I did have one other thing to say on that topic, though. What was it? I don't know. It's gone. I'll return to it. Not all platforms are created equal. When you're worrying about where your music should be, it should be everywhere, of course, because you don't know necessarily where most of your listeners are. There's some good ways to find out. Simply asking them on social is great. I have done posts before where I'm like, hey, where are you listening to my music? And it's my most engaged, just sort of text-based Facebook posts, and people are like, oh, I'm on Spotify, I'm on Amazon Music, wherever they are. So do a post like that. It's crazy how many people engaged with that. In my mind, it was sort of a boring post, but everyone really wanted to answer me. So you might find that you have a holiday song that's doing really well on Pandora, and it's not doing much of anything on Spotify. It's important to know that each platform has a different kind of audience, and they're going to want different kinds of music. So paying attention to your analytics in each of them and kind of having a broad overview of what's happening on each of them is really important. I don't think artists really want to be like analytics data hounds and be doing that daily, but make a weekly, every other week practice of digging through your stats online. It can be really healthy. Not all streams are created equal. And I'll tell a personal story here. For a few years, I think my average monthly listeners on Spotify was somewhere between 300 and 1,000. And that was for my kind of indie pop, indie folk, singer-songwriter type music. I then did a collaboration with an electronic band called Date Night. And we made this sort of, I'm terrible at electronic genre names, but I think it was indie chill with a little bit of house music. But anyways, we made this collaboration, and it went on 2 official Spotify playlists and got a huge amount of activity, so that I think for me, the spike was around 70,000 monthly listeners. And then for a while it was like 40,000, something like that. And that is, by order of magnitude, way more engagement than any of my solo music had ever seen. And I was so excited. I was sure this was going to be the bump to the next thing. And lo and behold, none of that activity, or almost none of it, led to people listening to my other songs. None of it led to people visiting my website. None of it led to people subscribing to my email list. And the reason, or my suspicion, is because we're in this environment where people are passively listening to music. It's almost like a utility. They flip on the switch and music plays. And unless they hate it, they're not going to jump to the next song, because that takes work. So first, people were passively consuming this song that Spotify had featured in these two playlists. And because it wasn't in my real genre, it also wasn't kind of doing me favors in terms of bringing in my true fan, or what my ideal fan, I guess. So when I was getting email subscriptions through my website or through my own Facebook ads or whatever, I was certain all these subscribers were coming in through my own activity. None of it was happening because I had this crazy, at least in my world, like biggest thing I've had to a hit. And so what I mean by that is, just to refer back to this slide, not all streams are created equal. Someone consuming a song in a passive manner in maybe an unrelated genre didn't come back to create a lifelong fan for me. Whereas something less sexy, like just going down the street and playing a show, which I know is not necessarily happening for all of us now, but something like that and playing in front of 10 people is going to do way more for me than getting 70,000 monthly listeners on Spotify, which is very strange. We focus on these vanity metrics of, how cool do I look? How many people does it look like care about my music? When ultimately the 10 people down the street were way more meaningful. So I offer that as a word of encouragement, and don't get too distracted by your social stats and all the things that you think you need to wear as medals or something in your resume. All that being said, I love the band Date Night. I'm happy we did the collaboration. We're doing another one. So it was fun from a creative standpoint. Another thing we should all remember is there are more entry points into music these days, particularly new music, than ever before. People are talking to their Alexa and Siri and whatever else and saying like, hey, play me some music that sounds like Johnny Cash. They are dialing up mood-based playlists. I want a workout mix or whatever it is. I have a song in a Spotify playlist called like sad songs I want to cry to or something like it's really depressing folk music. So there is a playlist for every kind of mood. But again, it's not about the artist. It's not about your individual genius so much as it is about your song sort of fitting this pre-existing utility, I guess. Keyword searches are huge for finding music. So your metadata is very important. And metadata is just information about your music that you provide to various platforms through your distributor and with other means as well. So when you're going through your sign-up process, no matter who you're distributing through, take your time, make sure you're putting in the most accurate sounds like artists and the most accurate genres. It's not about who you wish you sounded like or, who you think is really cool and getting searched a lot. It's truly about who you actually sound like. So make sure before you release your new music, you get some trusted people to weigh in and give their opinion. Let's see. Yes, you can search music through metadata that's related to collaborations, featured artists. So if you're guesting and playing a fiddle solo on someone else's song, ask them if you're proud of the music, if they'll feature you as a featured artist, because that can also lead people to your catalog. Finding songs by lyrics is huge these days. And CD Baby has partnered with a company called Musix Match. It's MUSIX Match. And we'll get you quickly verified as an official artist on that platform. You can upload all your lyrics and then go on their app. This could be a whole separate discussion, but that app gives you a way to sync the lyrics with the audio so that they're time-stamped and then they get sent to Spotify and Instagram and every other place so that you can have the music and the lyrics scrolling in time. So check that out. And yeah, let me see what else we got. You can obviously merchandise your music on some of these platforms in a way that you are not going to be able to, you couldn't go into Tower Records 30 years ago and say, hey, that's my record. By the way, here's this t-shirt I want you to put next to it. Of course not. Now you can. Spotify gives you a way to, list your concerts and your live streams, as well as if you're lucky and can convince Merch Bar that you're worth paying attention to, you can use Merch Bar to get your merch on Spotify. And some of the other platforms have merchandising options as well. Again, you have access to real-time data. This is not something you were going to get 30 years ago at Tower Records. You couldn't walk in and say, hey, who bought my CD or who looked at my CD? So this is exciting too in terms of understanding the differences in your audience across different platforms and a whole bunch of other stuff. So again, just make a habit of that. Another thing I wanted to mention is you probably all know that video is super important, but music videos are not what they used to be. And I think this is a really exciting opportunity for musicians today. The age of MTV is over, and the time where you had to blow your whole budget on some really fancy, well-produced music video with actors and fancy lighting and all this stuff is mostly gone, because in the world of social media, the type of stuff that's getting shared, even on on Facebook and everywhere else, it looks like the type of stuff your friend shot, and that is what's going viral. These very casual, low budget, not overthought types of videos. This isn't always the case, but I think it's a really good opportunity because you can save that budget for whatever other hundreds of things you can spend your money on for your music. But yeah, so don't blow your budget on a big music video. Candid is always better than something that looks super pro, particularly if you're spending any money to to use your videos as ads that are going to get sent to people who don't know who you are based on, targeting a genre interest or someone you might sound like. If a super fancy video pops up in someone's Facebook feed, they're probably going to scroll past it because it looks like a commercial, as opposed to something candid and striking. Make sure you try to get something really unusual to happen in the first few seconds. That is important. But the other thing about video that is completely different is the bad news is we all have way shortened attention spans, but the good news is you don't even have to make a 3 or 4 minute music video anymore. It's perfectly fine for you to create a 15 or 30-second video for your song, because a lot of times that's all people are consuming on Instagram and TikTok and even Facebook. So short videos are fine. And then that gives you one other opportunity, which is to, if you have a song you're really passionate about, you kind of feel like it's your hit from a new album or whatever, shoot a bunch of short things, do 3 or 4 different 15-second videos and test them all, see which one is resonating the most, and then put your energy, and if you're, advertising dollars or what else, behind that winner. So those are some opportunities that exist in the music video world. And this slide is supposed to re-emphasize that point. So when we think about music as a utility, it's no longer really about you and your genius. It's about them. It's about what is your music? How is it fitting into their life? What is it making them feel? It's not really about albums anymore. It's about a song. Then even more down the rabbit hole, it's not even really about a song. It's about a hook, because if you have a 15-second video, it's the chorus or half the chorus or whatever. So you can really think about pairing the right visuals with the right hook, which is the last point here. It's not even about the musical hook. It's about the right winning combination between the video and that hook. Okay, if we go into the distribution phase of this discussion, if anyone has not put out music under their current artist name, you should absolutely start with a single, put out one song, claim all your profiles on the various streaming platforms. Then you can use their tools and the things they offer for your more important follow-up release. I don't know how many of you might be in that boat, so we can move on from that. But it's really important to plan your release, even though we're in an age where shelf space is unlimited. It used to be you'd have to make your album a hit within the first week or two because it took a lot of resources to fight for that shelf space and to get the CDs delivered or the vinyl delivered. And if it didn't sell a bunch, they were going to get returned to the distributor, blah, 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 on and on. It was crucial that success happened in that first week or two. We don't live in that world anymore. You can legitimately find success for a song 4 years after, 30 years after it's been released, even if it never did anything up until that point. Because there are so many entry points into music now, CD Baby sees so many instances of old songs suddenly catching on. And that could be in sync licensing, getting placed in TV and film. It could be a Spotify playlist. There are a lot of ways that songs just get sort of awoken from the dead, and that's amazing. So not as much as riding on your release date in terms of it having to be a success right away. But if you rush a release, you're going to miss out on a bunch of opportunities to get early traction, early energy going for that song, which is important if you want to have streaming platforms share the song beyond your existing fan base. So release dates do matter a lot in the sense that you should set it and then reverse engineer what you need to get done to release it successfully. Some of the things you're going to need in order to distribute your music: you need a high-res WAV file. We can, I think, technically distribute MP3s. We really don't want to. Obviously, it's a degraded sound quality. So we want to start with something good. Same goes with album art. We need a 3000 by 3000 pixel cover artwork. We can go smaller, but again, it's not just people consuming on these things. There are smart TVs with huge screens that could be playing your music, and your album cover needs to appear clear in those huge formats as well. You need your songwriter information, any splits if you have co-writers. If you're doing cover songs, obviously you want to get all that licensing out of the way. What else do we have here? Know your name. Google your name. Make sure no other artists are using that name. And this is a very common problem we have with new artists. I think a lot of you probably have already gone through this distribution process. So I can go quickly through this stuff. And then if you have questions, we could get to it later. But, there's some pretty common album art mistakes. One is that if you decide to have your artist name and your album title on the cover, which you do not need to, but if you put text on it, it has to exactly match what you've listed as your artist name and your album title in the metadata. You can't have it be, for instance, Chris Robley and the Fear of Heights, which is my backup band, and then the album title, if in the metadata it just says Chris Robley. It has to be exact. And one other thing you should know on that is if you have a backing band and sometimes release stuff as a solo artist, you'll have different Spotify profiles, different Apple Music profiles for both of those catalogs. So it's another consideration if you're one of the people who kind of bounces between settings and collaborations. It might be worth it in the long run to just go with your name as opposed to releasing Chris Robley and the Fear of Heights and then Chris Robley and the Jazz Ensemble and whatever else. Consistency is going to be the way that you can build a catalog that all lives together and can be managed together on these streaming platforms. If anyone needs help with album cover design, Canva is amazing. There's a free version, and then they have a premium version, which is, if you really need the extra tools, you can jump in there, subscribe for a month, and then cancel. Don't tell them I told you that, but these are some of the album covers I have made in Canva, and I don't claim that they're the best album covers, but I think for a free tool online, they came out pretty well. Another thing not to rush when you're signing up your music for distribution is all the things that are extras. And I just put those in quotes. In terms of CD Baby, they're not extra services. We take them all very, very seriously. But I think people that just want to get their music out as soon as possible think of them as extra, because really the thing they're most concerned about is getting on Spotify, iTunes, all those places. But we offer video monetization on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, sync licensing. We have been licensing a ton of independent music to pretty much every network you can think of. Netflix shows, HBO, movies, advertisements being made by Amazon, like really high profile placements. And it's not just one or two, it's hundreds and hundreds of artists getting these things. But in order for us to find your music, when we have a need that comes, a music supervisor will come to us and say, hey, I need a song that sounds like Johnny Cash, but with a female vocalist and whatever, it needs to be 120 beats per minute or whatever. We have a way on our side to detect the tempo, but it's up to you to make sure you're putting those sounds like in. When you're choosing your genre, we have a third descriptor you can put in that say, hey, female vocalist. So those types of things, take your time with that. Another service that we offer is publishing royalty administration. So you may be signed up with ASCAP or BMI to get your performance royalties. If you go with CD Baby Pro, we'll also help you get your mechanical royalties, which come to you through global streaming, a bunch of other stuff. But let's see. So I mentioned setting a release date. Don't fall into that trap of setting the release date and then rushing through your mastering process and, calling your manufacturer of your CDs, be like, my release is next week, send it to me. Don't do that. Make sure the music's finished, then set your release date, and then kind of work backwards to make sure you go through the whole setup process, which is a lot of these following things. I'll try to go through them quickly because I think we're running. How are we doing on time? Yeah, I'll go quick. You want to, if you have not already, claim your streaming profiles. That would be Spotify for Artists, your YouTube official artist channel. Let's see, Amazon Music for Artists, Apple Music for Artists, Deezer Backstage, Pandora Amp, as well as that Music's Match service I told you about. CD Baby makes almost all those ones I mentioned very quick. If you just log into your CD Baby dashboard, we have some quick links you can click, and we will rush the verification process, get you set up for those quickly. So definitely do that before you release any more music. Then you can use those tools, as I said, to set up your release. And one of the most important ways to do that is to pitch your music to Spotify. Within Spotify for Artists, if you have delivered your music there ahead of its release date, meaning you've got to get it to CD Baby, it's all approved, we send it to Spotify and we say, hey, don't release this until whatever, January 1st. So they're sitting on it. But in your Spotify for Artists account, you will see a tab that says upcoming music. Go in there and you can pitch one song from that upcoming release to their editors. That is, of course, unlikely pathway to success. I'm sure they choose 1/1000th or 1/1,000,000th of what's pitched to them. But the real benefit is that process gives you a chance to put in even more metadata, which can aid in people searching for music. And you can put in instrumentation, you can put in additional geographic and genre information, whole bunch of other stuff. So definitely do that for every new release you put out. And then the last thing that it does is it guarantees that all your existing followers on Spotify will have that song in their release radar playlist automatically the week that it's released. So there's no reason not to do that. But if you're rushing to get music out, you'll miss the chance to do this because Spotify has a sort of minimum window, maximum, anyways, a certain amount of days before the release that you have to do this by, otherwise you miss the chance. And in order to be eligible for that, CD Baby needs to get your music to Spotify ahead of that date. So plan accordingly. This kind of goes back to that thing I was saying about no one owes you anything, and it's really up to you to generate interest. But it's important to remember the release is not the end. It's really the beginning of the work. The creative music making part might be over. The creative marketing hat has to go on because it's called a launch, not a landing. So get ready for the work once your music is out. I find it helpful to think in terms of release seasons these days instead of release cycles. It used to be, you disappear for a while, make your music, get ready to put it out. You put it out, you tour for a year or 2 years or whatever, then you disappear again. Those days are pretty much gone. You need to have these kind of overlapping phases. There's the music production and content creation phase where you're capturing pictures and videos in the studio and taking lots of notes about your collaborations and stuff so that later when the music comes out, you have a lot of content built up to sort of tell the story of that music. Then you want to take the time to set up the release. Some of the past slides we talked about. Then there's the official release and then the follow-up content. So follow-up content could be some of those video ideas we talked about earlier. It can also be a number of maybe less significant, less formal or official releases. I'll talk about those in just a second. But when you're doing your pre-release setup, you can do pre-saves and pre-ads. This is a function on Spotify and Apple Music, which gives you a chunk of time before the release to get people interested, click a button, and so that on the release date, all those people who click the button in the, say, 3 or 4 weeks leading up to release, all get that song on the day of its release, which should indicate to Spotify that people care when your music is new. You can be doing pre-sale bundles. We also offer pre-sales of iTunes and Amazon downloads. You're going to need a lot of time if you're doing playlist and PR campaigns, all that stuff. And CD Baby also has a creator services team and extended services. It's basically A&R, label services type stuff, where we have relationships with editors at all the streaming platforms that we're partnered with. We have gotten a ton of artists' faces on billboards in Times Square. There's a lot of things we can do, but you have to give us the ammunition to, make your case to these people. And that means you have to have, certain things you can brag about. We have a way to get that to us. So make sure you give yourself time to do that. And as well as giving yourself timeline for various kinds of promotion, which you'll see these timelines here. The playlist pitching one is what I was talking about with Spotify. The minimum is 8 days. Really, if you can give yourself 2, 3, 4 weeks to do that, that is all the better. The more time Spotify has, the more they can do for you. And then again, create your show.co account. This is what a pre-save, actually this is an add and follow, but it looks pretty similar to a pre-save campaign. Good looking photo. I find this headline pretty boring. Pre-save our new album on Spotify. All right. I feel like it's way more enticing for an audience when there's something extra. So here's one I did. What's my face look like when I get slapped? I had a music video I shot where someone just kept slapping me over and over. So I cut a little highlight reel of that, and that's what gets unlocked with show.co. Our pre-save function and pretty much all the campaigns you can create through show.co give you the opportunity to unlock hidden behind the scenes content. So in my case, it was an unlisted YouTube video. My friend Kevin's band had a headline that I like a lot, which was "Hear the song that got us kicked off stage." And I like that a lot because whether you know the music or not, whether you care about the band, I'm intrigued. Like, is it terrible? Is it offensive? What is this? So think in terms of sort of headlines and rewards rather than simply just saying, hey, pre-save my music. Because in a streaming age, your fans probably aren't all that worried they're going to miss it. There's a lot of ways that probably will still cross their desk. So I will try to speed up here too. Is it worth paying for a publicist? I have no idea. I have found in the past I got a lot of great press from it. It opened some doors. It didn't necessarily lead to more people at my shows and lots of record sales, as opposed to putting the same or even less budget into directly advertising my music on Facebook, which I did for my last record. And I put about $1,500 budget into that campaign. Ended up getting about 300,000 views on a video, thousands of shares, hundreds of CD sales, maybe hundreds of t-shirt, or at least, many dozens of t-shirt sales, email subscribers, stuff like that. So, for half the budget that I'd put into paying for a publicist, I went direct to new listeners and had a sort of pathway to get them into my ecosystem where they were actually paying me money, consuming my music and buying stuff and getting on my email list. So I did find that a better avenue than paying for a publicist. All that being said, I'm about to put out a new record and I think I'm going to hire a publicist again. So what do you do with that? I don't know. Here are some of the ways that after your release, you can continue to create interesting content that refers back to the sort of, touchstone album release. One is to just put your older songs on playlists, and playlists give you an amazing way to put older songs in new context. So maybe it's based on instrumentation. Maybe you want to put a song in and amongst songs that influenced it. There's really no shortage of ways to do that. Remixes, alternate mixes, demos, live tracks, all those are completely valid in a Spotify world where the more frequently you're putting out music, the better it works for you, the more sort of algorithmic energy it has for you. And remixes, yes, they work in folk and singer-songwriter world. You just want to get your engineer, or if you're recording yourself, do stems, which are like, I don't know what a stem is. How do I describe it? It's sort of a paring down of your session so that you have a handful of tracks. One might be the vocals and background vocals only. One might be the drums and percussion. One might be guitars and keyboards or something like that. But if you've got one that's vocals and background vocals only, electronic artists would love to chop that stuff up and mess with it and give you a chance to have a wild collaboration. So definitely do that. When you're in the studio, before you finish your mix, burn an alternate mix, even if it means muting everything except the acoustic guitar and the vocals. That way you'll have a solo acoustic version you can put out after the fact. And also be sure to burn an instrumental mix. Don't think too hard about it. Just mute the vocal and get the instrumentals, because that often makes a huge difference when we're placing your music in TV and film. We a lot of times need to show that we have the instrumental mix ready in case the editor of that show or film has to cut between the two versions. And then recurring content is important. If you're doing live streams, do it on a schedule. Don't just go live whenever. Give your fans something to look forward to. Teach the platforms that you're consistent content creator. Do a live stream every Sunday night or something like Joe Pug does. And over time, if you do it consistently enough, your audience will increase. When you do that, don't get scared when no one's watching after 3 minutes. Just keep going, because it's about the replay. And then lastly, try to create bigger stories around your music release than simply, hey, I'm an artist and here's my music. And I did one for my last release where I created a 5-day behind the scenes experience with a bunch of videos, extra content, field notes, which is just my random musings on my own songs. And by email, people who signed up for this experience would get access to a page a day with a bunch of that content. It took me a boatload of time to do, but once it was set up and I ran that Facebook video ad that I talked about earlier, I had something I could immediately follow up with. So anyone who got 75% of the way through that music video would immediately see a follow-up ad for this experience. Like, hey, you like this video? Come check out this 5-day experience. It's totally free. I didn't ask them for anything except an email. And then at the end of it, I have an opportunity to be like, oh, by the way, now that you love me, here's this CD that no one cares about, but you might, because you value this experience. And a surprising amount of people buy those CDs, even if, again, they don't have a CD player, because it's got my name on it. It reminds them of the experience. They feel like they can support me. Yeah. Okay. sorry if I rambled or sped through that, but I think we have time for questions. Maybe?
Yes, sorry. I was getting caught up now. I couldn't find my thing. This was this was what you call value added, my friend. I can't there's I got to switch. Do you know that Zoom has updated in such a way that do you want to unshare your
Oh
screen?
yeah, let me do that.
Leave it.
We could just look at what question do you have for the rest of the time.
Yeah, right, the whole time. That's great. I'd rather look at your face, not so much mine. But if you've updated your Zoom, you have like more options for views, and it's really irritating. And I was afraid to change it. So, but it was great because all I could see was you in the presentation. That was such amazing value added info. Like all the marketing tips and promotional tips and release tips was incredible. And I've written 3 pages of notes. But is this presentation something that you can share? I probably shouldn't put you on the spot in front of all these people,
Yeah, I
but
could. I've got a PDF of it. What's the best way to
send it to me and I'll make
see it?
sure
Okay.
that attendees get it. It's a special, people will ask for it. I just want to prepared. But so the first question, there's so many questions. For if anyone has a question, raise your hand, but I have a bunch of questions. So Eileen, I see your hand. So you're lucky that I see your hand, but you got to use you got to use the blue hand. If you click that little blue hand in the participant window and stick it up there, then you'll jump to the top of my list and I'll be able to see you. So Eileen, why don't you go ahead and do that? Can you see it? Click the blue hand for me. At the lower left corner of the participant window. You don't see a blue hand? Got it? Good girl. Thank you. All right, hang loose. Well, let's go ahead and let you ask your question first. I've talked enough. Go ahead, my friend.
Okay, thank you so much, Chris. I have older CDs, probably vintage by now. And I'm wondering, is there a way for me to update the data so that when you're talking about like mega data, is there a way for me to refresh that so it might get picked up in today's vernacular, you know?
Well, so are they signed up with CD Baby?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Chances are you've already put it in there. Maybe you did it a while ago, so you don't remember. But it's the genre information, sounds like information. That stuff has been in there, I think, since CD Baby was around. So even if it's an older CD, you probably have entered that stuff in.
Yeah, but can I revise it? I'd like to revise.
Oh, what would you want to revise?
I would like to revise on one of my CDs, the genre. And I think I would also like to maybe revise the sounds like, because now more people have defined maybe, you know, some of the artists that I sound like. And they might even be names that younger people might recognize. Like when I say Joan Baez, I can't begin to tell you how many young people go, who? You know? So yeah, I would like to add some contemporary or sounds like, you know, it could be Nora Jones. I mean, I want to revise. How do I do it?
Okay, so I have two, one thing that's completely unhelpful. I don't know if you can. I think you can.
Okay.
You could go to CD Baby's Help Center. We have a chat there. You know, get a call back and we could talk through whether that can be changed. I'm pretty sure it can on our end.
Okay.
But my next thing I was going to say is, if you really do sound more like Joan Baez than Nora Jones, for example, and
Well,
I don't know, but if that's the case, don't change it. Because what's important to sync licensing, you know, like a music supervisor who is, let's say they're doing a show about the 60s and they want kind of period appropriate type music, you're going to get the placement if we're searching for Joan Baez, as opposed to switching it to something more, I don't know, contemporary, or that you think might have more search volume. I really think accuracy is way more important.
Okay, so the follow-up question is, what if you're sort of multi-genre, both in your composition and in your vocal styles?
So that gets tricky. You can only do 3 genres per release. So if you have an album where, you know, you feel like you're spanning 12 genres, you really have to boil it down to maybe the averages. But you get to pick two genres, two subgenres actually, and then a third thing that's like a descriptor, and that could be, you know, solo female vocalist or quirky, and there's a bunch of adjectives and descriptors you can choose from.
Okay.
But yeah, what was I saying? So yeah, I mean, you're gonna have to kind of pick the average if it's an album.
Yeah.
But I'm always so we get asked a lot about this genre question, because I feel like if it's the same voice and the same sensibility, your music is probably way more cohesive than you imagine, even if it's like a folk song and a jazz song, whatever. Like, I think a lot of times things hold together. And so if you can kind of find those two genres, they'll work for the breadth. I mean, I'm guessing, I haven't heard your music. So.
No, I think that's probably true. And I thank you. All right. So I'll contact them. And again, much appreciated.
Oh yeah, sure. Thanks.
Thanks.
Thanks, Eileen. So we have a question in the chat. T Dorer is asking, my group is signed to a, he put signed in quotes, to a small label. Can I also sign up with, I'm assuming he meant CD Baby. The signing is really just a logo on the physical label and a spot on their website.
It depends. So if that's all they're doing and they're not actually distributing your music, and the agreement you have with them gives you the right to retain ownership and to do that, then absolutely. We wouldn't care about anything like that. The only trouble you'd get into is if they are sending your music to certain places, we can't send it to the same places. So sometimes there's deals, both distribution and label deals, where they might be servicing your music to Spotify and Apple, but not, you know, Tencent in China or Boomplay in Africa or whatever, places that we are partnered with, and you want to use us for those. We can do that, but you just have to be extra careful to make sure we don't send it to the places where your music is already available.
And what would happen if they did? Like
Spotify or whoever would say, hey, we already have this. What the hell are you trying to do? And, we'd have to answer. And I mean, most of the times it's just an innocent mistake, but sometimes we have to go and look and say, wait a minute, is this?
It's just, yeah. Okay, cool. John Lewis, I see your hand up. Thank you, sir.
Yes, indeed. Thank you. So I've got a couple singles that are being mastered right now, and I'm just wondering about timing of the release of singles, whether it's good to like spread them out over a month, or kind of what your suggestions are on that.
I would say 4 to 6 weeks between singles is good. I wouldn't do any more than one a month, because chances are you'll be jamming them in too tightly that you won't be able to do that Spotify pitching process that I mentioned for every release. And then you'll have to pick and choose between those, which one gets that attention, rather than just waiting a little bit more and then you can do it for every single release. Different people have different methods. I've seen case studies where every 6 weeks happens to be the sweet spot. So like whatever energy is happening on the track, it starts to dip, and then that's the point at which the next song comes out to capitalize on the previous peak, and then you keep it going every 6 weeks. For other artists, it's every 4 weeks. I think that's something you might just have to kind of play with, but don't rush to get them all out too soon. And the other thing I would say is, don't feel like just because we're in a singles world, every song deserves to be a single. And I don't mean it's not good. Maybe it's an 8-minute, folk ballad that's just not going to be the best thing for like that casual listening. Maybe that's a cut for your existing fans. Just put that out on the album. It doesn't need to come out as a single.
Right. Cool. Hey, can I ask one more question?
Go for it, John.
All right. I've signed up for Pro Publishing and I've had that going for a year or two. One of the folks that I have a shared songwriting credit with, for some reason, I'm never able to get their correct information in there. And it always gives me an alert like Pro Publishing is not going to work for you because you're missing this bit of information for the co-writer. Does that like block my Pro Publishing benefits for everything, or just for the particular song?
No, it shouldn't be blocking your split, your percentage of Like
Okay.
you should be collecting on your part of that. But if you're trying, let me think about this. So is it giving you that error warning before you've even been approved for pro publishing?
I mean, I thought, I think I'm approved. It just gives me that exclamation mark that
Hmm.
this
That's
person.
one I would say go on our help center and
All right.
initiate a conversation there, because we can just go in our database and figure it out for you. But
All right.
yeah, it might be that they need the what do you call it, like the ASCAP identifier? I forget terminology, but we can work it out if you get in contact with us.
Okay. Thanks.
Thanks, Jen. Okay, so interestingly enough, like John's question made me think of the idea of singles and the idea of the way it used to be in radio. And Michael Stock, who's, I can see you, Michael, hi, has asked, is radio worthwhile? Of course, I answer a big fat yes, but I mean, I think that, yeah. So can you speak to digital distribution and the way it works with kind of traditional radio at all, or how?
We don't have really much overlap at all, but for the piece of pro publishing where we go and collect performance royalties that might be generated from radio play. And normally I talk a whole lot of crap about radio if it's outside of this genre and world. Like a lot of people want to get on radio that are make pop. And I'm like, it's never going to happen. Like, and I assume everyone here understands that, but within folk and Americana, there's so many more opportunities. So yes, I absolutely think it's worth it. I'm definitely not an expert in that folk DJ, folk radio promotion process, but it's something I have not discounted out of hand. Is that the term? It seems like within this world, that is still something that matters quite a bit.
Yes, we absolutely. Good answer. But since you brought up royalties, this was also one of my questions, because I think to me, there's still some confusion about, so there's performance royalties, which you mentioned radio, like when you get a song played on the radio. So I'm a BMI member. But I also registered with Sound Exchange, and I also have CD Baby distributing all my music digitally. And I'm going to bring up YouTube in a second, but who's collecting my money?
Okay.
Right. I get some money from you guys. I get some money rarely from BMI, but right?
So with that setup, if you don't have CD Baby Pro, the one thing you would definitely be missing out on is mechanical royalties, which is another kind of publishing money that is not collected by ASCAP and BMI.
Oh.
So those are generated. They use the term mechanical because it's based on the old idea of a mechanical reproduction of this composition. So, it ending up on a wax cylinder or vinyl or whatever, or a CD, so that the publisher or songwriter should be getting paid for those reproductions of that song. In the digital world, mechanical royalty is generated by downloads and streams. So without a publishing rights administrator, you would be missing out on that stuff. There is a new agency similar to Sound Exchange that's been created in the US to collect those royalties in the US only. And it's called the MLC, the Mechanical Licensing Collective or something like that. So you could check that out. But if you have CD Baby Pro, you actually don't even need to check that out because we have already affiliated with them. And then the benefit of CD Baby Pro is that we have direct relationships with royalty collection agencies and societies all around the world. So even for performance royalties that you might be getting through ASCAP or BMI, you're only getting what they manage to collect through reciprocal deals, like basically different countries, agencies paying each other based on what they say is happening. And some of that falls through the cracks. It's very inefficient. It's slow. The way we work is we just work directly with basically everyone, and we register your songs directly with all those different agencies all around the world. So you get paid quicker, you get paid more comprehensively, and then you both get the performance royalties side of it and the mechanical royalties side of it. As far as other kinds of money, you mentioned Sound Exchange, which is good. You should definitely all sign up with Sound Exchange if you are creating recordings that you own and if you're the artist on those recordings. That money is generated not through publishing rights. It doesn't have anything to do with the the underlying composition. It's about the sound recording itself. And that is generated by, they're called non-interactive digital plays. So like the type of listening that happens on Pandora radio or satellite radio, where you're not, it's a digital transmission, but you're not picking exactly what you want to hear. So yeah, definitely sign up for Sound Exchange. Outside of that, there's the kind of the things that I think CD Baby, or people traditionally think CD Baby is collecting, which we are. The license fee for the sound recording being streamed on Spotify or being downloaded on iTunes. That revenue is being collected through CD Baby, as well as you. Before I jump into YouTube, did you have a question?
Yes, in
about
fact,
that?
yeah, Charlie's asking me to, and that's exactly where I was headed with the YouTube thing, because, well, I uploaded a live version of a song of mine and got a copyright claim from CD, basically saying that, I didn't own this song. And I went down this rabbit hole and discovered that there was all these CD Baby copyright claims on my song. So even not just the album that I didn't even know was out there on YouTube, because that's how stupid I am about this stuff. But a live version of a song that I put on an album that I uploaded didn't, got nabbed up in that copyright thing. And then so I fought it. And of course, CD Baby said, sure, you can have it back. And then I found out that it might not have been the smartest thing to do if I wanted to actually maybe get a few fractions of pennies from it. So
yeah, so there's a lot to say in this. First of all, it's unfortunate that YouTube's warning looks like a warning that's scary and intimidating. We don't claim any rights to your music. All we have is the right that you've given us to collect money on your behalf. So when you see that warning in your account, it actually means that our YouTube monetization service is working properly, because what that service does is we take a sonic fingerprint, or we enable YouTube to take the sonic fingerprint of your audio recording. And then if you're signed up for CD Baby Pro Publishing, it also kind of works in the publishing realm as well for the song. But anyways, what it does is it allows YouTube to track that sound recording or composition across its entire platform of trillions of videos or whatever it is. And anytime your music appears, it's monetized. So if someone puts your song into their, here's a video of my cat swatting an ornament on the Christmas tree video, or a cooking video, whatever, anywhere it appears on YouTube, if your song is there, an ad gets served, and then you generate ad revenue through that. So the kind of unfortunate way they phrase it is it's working when the claim is appearing in your own channel on the videos you've uploaded yourself, because again, it's identifying that music correctly. And it just so happens you're seeing it because it's on your channel. But if it was someone else with the cat video, they would see that, and then they would know, oh, okay, ad money generated through this will flow to that artist through CD Baby. That's basically what that means. YouTube gets a little extra confusing because in addition to that service, which is called Content ID, our ability to go make sure all instances of your music out there is being tracked and that you're getting paid for it, we also send your music to YouTube Music, which is YouTube's streaming platform. It's their equivalent of Spotify or Apple Music. And when we deliver that music, YouTube posts it in something called a topic channel. So you might have noticed you have an art track out there created by CD Baby, which in our track is just your album cover in a video, and the song plays. And then those topic channels are generated for every artist that is officially distributed to YouTube Music. To get even more complicated, when subscribers of YouTube Music listen to that, it's generating a stream the same way a stream would generate a royalty for you on Spotify. However, those same art tracks are available to everyone on YouTube for free, but for the fact that then they are monetized through Content ID, which goes back to the previous service we mentioned. So anyone who's consuming that stuff for free will see an ad, and then you can generate money through the ad activity. The last wrench I'll throw on this is that now you've got a topic channel because we've distributed your music to YouTube. And if you've created your own channel, then you're managing your own channel. Now you live in two places on YouTube. And if you have a lot of fans out there uploading concert videos and whatever else, you might have 1,000 places you live on YouTube. So you want to do, you want to create what's called a YouTube official artist channel. And this is one of those things I mentioned that is a one-click thing to initiate within your CD Baby dashboard. And that will do something that basically, what's the word, consolidates those videos on your topic channel and your own channel into one property, and even gives you the ability to pretty easily fly in videos that other people have uploaded into playlists and whatnot. And you can manage all that activity from one place. You manage all the engagement, the comments, all that stuff from one place, and the stats, the view counts, the total hours viewed, all those things. YouTube tracks that all together once it's consolidated, which helps you in terms of monetization and unlocking certain features that they might only offer to artists who reach a certain level of subscribers and monthly or yearly activity. That's probably more than you ever wanted to know about YouTube, but
no, it's great. I mean, that's some of the stuff that I think that makes digital distribution such a heavy topic. And I think, there's probably another hour's worth of questions. I see Eileen's hand up again, and I do want to kind of keep an eye on the time. Typically, these tech talks are supposed to be just an hour, nice and short, but we're gonna keep Chris along as long as he's willing to answer questions for me. All right, Eileen, you're up.
Well, Hope, this is a question for you too. So when someone says, Alexa, play Eileen Kozlov, and suddenly the music comes on, are we getting royalties for that?
Really? You definitely are.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, and so Amazon Music is one of CD Baby's partners, so your music should be. Oh, did I freeze?
No, you're good.
I'm still here. Okay, good. Yeah, so we send your music to Amazon Music. They have, not quite as confusing as YouTube, but they have a few different tiers. They have music that they make available to Prime subscribers, and then they have a larger catalog that's available to their Amazon Music subscribers and so forth. But yeah, by and large, your music will be on Amazon Music, and you also should grab your Amazon Music for Artists account, which is one of those things CD Baby makes easy. That one, you don't have to go through your CD Baby dashboard. You just download the Amazon Music for Artists app on your phone. And then in the sign up page, it'll ask who your distributor is. There should be a little CD Baby logo box there. We were the first at their launch. We were the first and only distributor to partner with them in that way. So yeah, you just click that, and then you can get into Amazon Artists and not just see who's streaming your music and all the usual stats, but you'll even be able to see how many people found your music through Alexa searches. There's a whole voice index, I think they call it, section of your data.
So, okay, so you've mentioned like claiming your channel, the stuff that CD Baby will now, like if you have the pro account, that you can do. And I recognize that you are not trying to necessarily sell CD Baby in that way, but it's a convincing sale for me. Like right now, just the idea originally when I uploaded all my music, so it's out there to all these places, but the difference between what I have now, where I might see $20 every however long, and upgrading to a pro account, like we're talking about being a one-stop shop, which I love the idea of, but right now we've got Sound Exchange, I've got BMI, we've got the potential to go directly to Amazon and create or grab my account, which create my account over there. But yeah, I'm kind of confused by some of this, just in terms of like what can I do myself if I didn't want to upgrade, and how much work it is versus just paying the extra money to upgrade. Oh, now you are frozen. Hello? Uh-oh. See, my question just made Chris freak out. We lost him. Oh, doggone it. All right. I guess I better make myself a somebody. That might have been just too much to ask. There's an awful lot. Michael, did I see your hand up? No? Okay. All right. Well,
hey, sorry, can you hear me?
Yep, you're back. I don't see you though. Where'd you go? Let's find you.
Can't tell if I'm there or not.
There you
We had a
are.
big storm last night in Maine, so I don't know if things are crazy.
It's okay. In fact, I realized that my question was a bit rambling and I'm not even sure how much you heard. And I guess my point was it seems like there's potential income, which may not be a ton, but that I might not be getting right now. And I don't know if I'm alone in feeling that way. So, oops. Oh, hang on. You need to, oh, are you there? You're muted again. Uh-oh. Well, guys, I don't know. I'm going to have to reach out to Chris, and I think we might have to make this our signal to close up shop. So let's switch to gallery view, shall we? And everybody say hi. And Chris, if you can hear us, we just want to say how much we appreciate your time today. We may have to have you back for a more intensive, just like straight up Q&A, because I don't know about you guys, but my head's going to explode. But why don't you, I know, right? I see you, Max. We really appreciate your time, Chris. I'm sorry that the connection kind of interrupted us, but I think there was an awful lot of great info here. The rest of you, I hope that we see you again. If you have any other questions for Chris, I think you can email him, chris@cdbaby.com. I don't think he'll mind with this small group. Or you can just send them to me, conference@farmfolk.org. We are happy that you joined us today, and everybody wave to the Facebook land out there. Okay. All those people that are invisible. I hope you all have a great, and I hope you had a great Thanksgiving. And that music you were listening to earlier was Chris's, by the way. I forgot to mention that. He's a really great artist. You should look him up. That's it. Thanks so much for joining us today, and we'll see you soon. See you Thursday. Bye, everybody.